Hello everyone, I will be reviewing a film called Duckling Series. The story revolves around a teenage girl named Meinam, who is incredibly shy and insecure. She suffers from a condition that makes her despise her own face, leading her to believe she is the ugliest person in the world. As a result, she always wears a box over her head and avoids looking at herself in the mirror or going outside. Meinam lives with her brother Plauen and their father, Mr. Bon, who are constantly concerned about her well-being. One evening, Plauen returns home with a bruised elbow and admits to shoplifting to divert attention away from himself. He blames Meinam's condition, referring to her as a total psycho. Meinam experiences frequent panic attacks and struggles to breathe when she becomes anxious. Mr. Bon, having grown accustomed to her reactions over the years, helps her calm down. Meinam then narrates her life story through her blog, describing how she became an ugly duckling. Surprisingly, for the first 13 years of her life, Meinam was like any normal person. She had friends, a social life, and was confident in herself. However, in middle school, she fell in love with the most attractive boy in her class. Overwhelmed with affection, she publicly confessed her love to him, only to be met with rejection and cruelty. The boy humiliated her, calling her the ugliest girl and asking her to wear a bag over her head. Her classmates followed suit, labeling her as ugly. The incident traumatized Meinam to such an extent that she isolated herself from everyone and refused to return to school. Despite Mr. Bon's efforts to persuade her otherwise, he eventually realized that Meinam was facing a genuine problem and allowed her to be homeschooled. For a year, Meinam avoided mirrors and stayed indoors, until one day when she ventured outside to retrieve a stuck balloon. A stranger approached her and offered help, prompting Meinam to cover her face with a paper bag. She discovered that she felt most confident when her face was hidden, and from that day on, she never revealed her face to anyone. Eventually, the bag was replaced with a box for durability. Although her family catches glimpses of her face occasionally, Meinam prefers to remain hidden, even from them. She rarely allows herself to look in the mirror. Meinam finds solace in anonymously connecting with people on social media, feeling more at ease online where faces remain unseen. Mr. Bon visits her doctor, seeking an instant cure for her condition. However, the doctor clarifies that Meinam is not sick but instead has a peculiar condition known as hikikomori, which is prevalent in Japan. Hikikomori primarily affects adolescents or young adults who isolate themselves from the world, spending days, months, or even years locked in their bedrooms and avoiding communication with others. The doctor believes Meinam's case is not severe since she still interacts with her family, suggesting that there is a chance for her to socialize with others if she is encouraged to go outside. Her main obstacle is fear. The doctor advises Mr. Bon to help his daughter break free from her isolation before she becomes completely cut off from her family as well. During dinner, Meinam insists on using a straw to eat and refuses to remove the box covering her face. In a deep voice, Mr. Bon urges his children to pay close attention to him. However, they interrupt him and jump to conclusions, assuming he either has cancer or is gay. Mr. Bon dismisses both claims and reveals his true intention. He wants Meinam, his daughter, to attend school with her brothers starting from the next day. Initially, Meinam thinks he is joking and responds with resistance as expected. But this time, Mr. Bon stands firm in his decision, surprising even Plauen, Meinam's brother. Meinam expresses her hatred towards her father and storms off to her room, where she spends the next hour crying and feeling nervous about the upcoming day. She is convinced that she will be bullied because of the box she wears on her head, but she believes that being bullied is still preferable to being called ugly. To uplift her spirits, Plauen brings her a new box to replace the old one and offers to help decorate it. Meinam, for the first time, takes off the box and reveals a face that is anything but ugly. Plauen assures her that he won't let anyone make fun of her, and together, the siblings decorate the new box for Meinam. The following morning, Mr. Bond drives his children to school, and Plauen gets out of the car and walks in confidently. Meanwhile, Meinam starts to hyperventilate under the box. To calm her down, Mr. Bond plays soothing music and encourages her to enter the school. Meinam apologizes for her previous unkind words and thanks her father for his efforts. As she leaves the car, Mr. Bond breaks down in tears, worried about his daughter. Meinam takes a deep breath and finally steps into the school with a big box on her head, attracting everyone's attention and whispers. The laughter from her peers reminds her of the traumatic incident from years ago when she was humiliated. Overwhelmed, she starts feeling dizzy and nearly faints, but a guy with a helmet comes to her rescue, which brings her some comfort. Introducing himself as Minton, he also has a helmet, making her feel slightly at ease. However, when she accidentally bumps into Zero, the most popular guy in school, and his friends, they demand that she remove the box to satisfy their curiosity about her appearance. Refusing their demands, she becomes surrounded by them, but Minton intervenes, taking off his helmet and revealing his face. This sparks a confrontation between Minton and Zero, leading them to decide to settle their differences outside of school. Minton then holds Meinam's hand and takes her away from the chaotic scene. In the subsequent scene, a nervous Meinam stands in front of her class. The teacher, aware of her condition, requests the students to respect her privacy. However, being typical teenagers, some of them start to bully her, insisting she show them her face. Minton, who is also in the same class, becomes angered by his classmates' behavior. Meinam quietly retreats to the back seat, keeping her head down most of the time. During lunch break, she searches for her brother in the cafeteria but fails to find him. The students continue to stare and gossip about her. Two boys notice her eating with the box on her head and force her to remove it, while others observe and laugh instead of helping her. Overwhelmed, Meinam leaves her food unfinished and runs outside, crying. Alone in the playground, Minton suddenly appears beside her, wearing his helmet. She initially thinks he is mocking her for her box, but he clarifies that he simply likes the way he looks with the helmet. He then shares his sandwich with her, as she couldn't eat earlier. Meinam starts feeling more comfortable talking to him, and they engage in jokes and laughter. However, she declares that she won't come to school the next day. Minton proclaims himself as her friend and urges her to come, even if it's just for him. After school, Minton and Zero meet, as they had promised, and engage in a verbal altercation fueled by their differences. Minton insults Zero for always being accompanied by his followers and challenges him to a one-on-one fight. Zero accepts and takes a step forward after instructing his friends to stay back. Minton lands the first punch, but Zero retaliates with an equally powerful blow. Meanwhile, Meinam is making her way home and witnesses the confrontation. Suddenly, the police arrive, forcing the guys to separate. Zero notices Meinam and pulls her along with him as he runs off to a quieter area. Once there, he forcefully removes the box from her head, leading to a climactic moment where he gazes upon her face, left speechless by what he sees. However, Meinam misunderstands his reaction, thinking he finds her ugly due to the haunting memories of her past trauma. Overwhelmed, she faints. When Meinam finally regains consciousness, she finds herself in a hospital bed without her box. Panic sets in, and she is given a face mask to calm down. Mr. Bond deeply regrets forcing her to go to school and blames himself for her hospitalization, allowing her to stay home as she desires. Surprisingly, Meinam declares that she wants to return to school, driven by her desire to seek revenge on Zero for coercing her to remove the box. The next day, Zero contemplates the situation, perplexed as to why Meinam would conceal her face when she is actually beautiful. Suddenly, Meinam arrives and slaps him for his previous actions. When Zero's friends attempt to approach her, he intervenes and once again tries to remove her face mask, but Minton prevents him. Another fight ensues between Minton and Zero, with Meinam stepping in to stop both of them and take them aside. By this point, news of two attractive guys fighting over the box head girl spreads throughout the school. Meinam scolds them for making her life even more difficult. When Minton claims he only wanted to help her, Zero laughs, certain that Minton is attracted to her, just as he is. Minton also senses Zero's interest in Meinam and confronts him about it. A flustered Zero denies it, insulting Meinam's appearance. The comment triggers her traumatic memories, causing her to lose consciousness once again. Minton comes to her aid, while Zero is left behind feeling jealous. The next day, Meinam returns to her state of insecurity, refusing to leave her room or interact with anyone. Mr. Bond and Pluin discuss how they can support her, and someone calls from outside their house. It's Zero, who has come to apologize for his actions. However, Pluin refuses to let him in, accusing him of pushing Meinam back into her depressive state. The following day, Minton tries to cheer her up, but she refuses to see him, even wearing a face mask when they finally meet. Despite her reservations, Minton presents her with a duck-themed box that she can use to cover her face. Meinam can't help but burst into laughter at the sight. Minton has also made a matching duck helmet for himself. Instead of starting a band as a joke, they decide to eat together. Minton promises to take care of her and convinces her to return to school the next day. He drives her to school, accompanying her until she is alone. Zero approaches her and attempts to apologize, but Pluin interrupts and sends him away. Later, during class, a girl named Ozone approaches Meinam and asks for a favor. A rumor about Meinam and Zero dating has been circulating, and Ozone wants Meinam to intervene and put a stop to Zero's bullying. However, Meinam denies any involvement with Zero and storms away. During lunch break, numerous people ask Meinam for similar favors, but she rejects them all. Suddenly, she learns that Zero is attacking her brother. Rushing to Pluin's aid, she discovers Zero's friends beating him mercilessly. Zero halts the assault and falsely accuses Pluin of starting the fight. Furious, Meinam confronts Zero, calling him a thief who bullies weaker students for personal gain. Zero is taken aback, as he had instructed his followers not to bully those weaker than themselves. Meinam implores him to stop hurting others, and in return, Zero promises never to resort to violence for personal gain. Left with no other option to help everyone, Meinam removes the box, revealing her face to the astonished onlookers. Later, she embraces Minton, crying as everyone has seen her face today. Minton is surprised but focuses on comforting her. Back at home, Pluin shows Meinam the comments under a picture someone posted of her. Although the comments are positive, Meinam remains unconvinced of her beauty. She enters her room and notices the window is open. Out of nowhere, Zero appears and asks her to keep quiet. He apologizes for calling her ugly and admits that she is, in fact, the most beautiful girl he has ever seen. After he leaves, his words echo in Meinam's mind. She asks her online friend to look at a picture of her on the school's page. When the friend gushes about how cute she looks, Meinam finally realizes that they must be telling the truth. For the first time in over 3 years, she takes out a mirror and discovers that she is, indeed, beautiful. The following day, Meinam goes to school without the box. Although the students stare and gossip about her, this time it is not to ridicule her but to admire her beauty. Despite feeling nervous, Meinam is ready to embark on a new life with the confidence she has never had before.